Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're going to wait just a second here and get some participants joining. This is IE Business Daily's business webinar series. This evening, we're going to be talking about the water crisis in the Chino Basin. Tonight, we have speaking Robert Bocock, who's the founder of Integrated Resource Management. We have Justin Scottco, the general manager at Monte Vista Water District. And we have Jay Pragg, clinical professor of economics and finance at the I'm going to mess that up.
That's the Drucker School.
The Drucker School in Claremont. I'm sorry, Jay.
He isn't listening. Don't worry about it.
All right. Bob, would you go ahead and kick us off this evening? Tell us about the crisis in the Chino Basin.
Certainly. Welcome, everyone. My name is Bob Bocock, and I work as a water resource manager throughout the United States. I just happen to be here in my own backyard from the Chino Basin, and would like to share with you a little bit about the problem that we have begun to encounter here in Chino Basin. Actually, it's a problem that's been going on for many years, and the water utility professionals in the valley have actually stepped up to the plate and been addressing much of the problems. I would like to boil down the problem for you so that you can understand it from a water quality perspective and understand the very local application of the problem. Locally, I represent industry at the Chino Basin Water Master, which is the agency charged with the adjudication and the appropriation of the water resources and water rights in the basin. And in my presentation, I hope to give you a little bit better understanding of exactly how that works and how later speakers tonight will add to what I've said and talk a little bit about their particular agencies and the economic impact of what's actually occurring. So with that, if I may share my screen, I go like this, pick this up, go to slideshow. What we're going to talk about this evening is the septic systems within the Chino Basin groundwater aquifer. This is the Chino Basin. For many of you here in the Inland Empire, you're very familiar with this map. The Chino Basin is the area here that you see in green, and it is managed by the Chino Basin Water Master, which is made up of 6 producer members of groundwater within this geographical area or geological area, as well as 3 municipal water agencies, the Three Valleys Municipal Water District, which represents the cities of Claremont and Pomona, the Inland Empire Utilities Agency, which represent most of the cities in Upland, Ontario, Monte Vista Water District within the Chino Basin, and then this area in Riverside County down here, which is Harupa Community Services District, a small mutual and parts of Riverside, represented by Western Municipal Water District. The area is a very well-managed groundwater basin, and the value of this vast resource is probably in the billions of dollars to the local economy. Now, what we have occurring in this area is a system of septic tanks that are historic in nature. They were the first attempt for the local area to handle its wastewater, its basically sanitary sewage, as well as some industrial applications. And these dots represent the areas where septic tanks still exist today. As communities developed in the Chino Basin, the cities would actually undertake collection of that sanitary sewage. The first treatment plants being with the cities of Upland and Ontario. And they ultimately, with the formation of the Chino Basin Municipal Water District, the predecessor to the Inland Empire Utilities Agency, formed regional sanitary sewage treatment at Inland Empire Utilities Agency, which represent 5 municipal wastewater treatment plants, but the cities still are responsible for collection of the sanitary sewage. That sanitary sewage is then collected in pipes that go to trunk lines operated by Inland Empire Utilities Agency, and then to the regional wastewater treatment plants. Similarly, in Los Angeles County, you have the Los Angeles County Sanitation District, which represent the 83 cities that are not the city of Los Angeles. The city of Los Angeles treats its wastewater independent. Likewise, here in the Inland Empire and in the Chino Basin, we treat our water collectively at the Inland Empire Utilities Agency. They actually prepared this study identifying the problem of very many septic tanks in the unincorporated area of San Bernardino County in Chino Basin. So because there's no sewer services capable of being provided in these areas, these septic tanks exist today. This is what an average septic tank looks like. When you flush your toilets in your homes or in your businesses or in your industrial applications, they go into a holding tank. And this is the primary tank where the water comes in, and it basically fills there. The sludge then falls to the bottom and is digested by naturally occurring bacteria. When the naturally occurring bacteria begin to fail, they can actually be supplemented by septic bacteria that you can reseed that sludge with, that basically are designed to not only consume the material, but to consume the nutrients, the phosphorus, the nitrogen, those nitrogen compounds in the bacteria. Then the water goes over this baffle wall into an effluent chamber and then to an outlet leach field. In your homes, as modern science has kept up, we're basically consuming pharmaceuticals. Those pharmaceuticals are then excreted through human waste, coffee, caffeine, mouthwashes, personal care products. One of the current emerging contaminants, perfluorinated carbons, they're Scotch guards, Teflons. So when you wash your carpet, your clothing, your furniture, and you discard that wastewater into your septic tank, those forever chemicals are not digested in the septic process and actually go right into our drinking water. Nitrate contamination occurs when sewage, basically flushed from your system, goes into those sludge ponds, and they are actually go through a nitrification bacteriological process that turn nitrogen, predominantly found in the ammonia found in urine, is then oxidized by the naturally occurring bacteria into nitrate. If you look at the groundwater contaminants in the United States, and these are in millions, the number one contaminant is sewage. The number one component of that is nitrates, then synthetic chemicals, salinity, volatile organic compounds, metals, pesticides, petroleums. But up here you can see that sewage is the predominant contributor from what? Septic tanks. So we have a huge problem, not only nationally, but certainly in the industrial area that is the Chino Basin. Why are we concerned with nitrates? Well, initially, nitrates were the first contaminant that came out as a maximum contaminant level with the Safe Drinking Water Act in 1974 that was actually put into place with regulations in 1979. Federal regulations, the Safe Drinking Water Act, they allow 5 years for the rule to actually take effect. So it hit the table in 1979. This causes what is called the blue baby syndrome, where it actually, the nitrogen blocks the ability for the baby to convert oxygen in their blood, and the blue color or the blue tint that the baby displays is actually a lack of oxygen. Well, fast forward to 2021, a brand new study was issued May 5th, 2021 by Stanford University. And what they're actually saying is that these nitrates are now contributing to preterm birth. So in the first trimester, they're concerned with actually spontaneous abortion or miscarriage. And the second and third trimester are looking at issues associated with preterm delivery or babies that are premature. And the economic impact of premature birth is significant on the economy. The current maximum contaminant level for these nitrates is 10 milligrams per liter. The new study is basically saying that these preterm births were associated with levels below 5 milligrams per liter. So you can see that nitrate is actually a significant concern all the way back to the promulgation of the Safe Drinking Water Act. Fast forward to literally last month, 2020, Stanford University's study. I hope I simplified this issue for you very concisely, and we'll be able to take questions after we allow our next presenters to present. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Justin.
Thank you, Bob. Good evening, everybody. My name is Justin Scott Coe. I'm the General Manager of Monte Vista Water District. I am sharing with you now a presentation that I'm very excited to give to you this evening about a project that we are initiating to explore activating our latent sewer service authority. Some quick information about Monte Vista Water District. Monte Vista Water District is a 94-year-old county water district, which is an independent local government with an elected board of directors and the statutory authority to provide a number of public services, including water and wastewater. We were formed originally to provide domestic water service for residents in a largely agricultural area. Starting in the 40s, Monte Vista expanded by a series of annexations to its current 10 square mile retail service area, as you can see here outlined in red. It includes the city of Montclair, portions of northwest city of Chino, and then in between those areas are the unincorporated portions of San Bernardino County that you saw previously on Bob's map. Over the decades, Monte Vista has expanded our supplies and services to meet the growing needs of our constituents, including our business community, as the service area has expanded and urbanized. In 1980, we formed a joint powers authority with local cities to build an imported water treatment plant to supplement our groundwater supplies. In 2001, we entered into a wholesale water supply agreement with the city of Chino Hills to bolster regional water supply reliability, and we currently supply roughly half of that city's water supply. In 2008, we developed a recycle water distribution system to deliver non-potable water for irrigation purposes in partnership with the city of Montclair and Inland Empire Utilities Agency. And then in 2009, we purchased 300 shares in San Antonio Water Company, a local mutual water company, and eventually became its second largest shareholder. So expanding our services yet again into the wastewater field would be very consistent with our long history. Water quality has been and continues to be an ongoing challenge for our agency, as it is for the Chino Basin, as you heard in Bob's presentation. We are required to treat or blend water sources to achieve federal and state water quality regulatory requirements for a number of constituents, and all of these are a result of historical agricultural practices in the basin. We also are watching for more stringent water quality regulations on the horizon that will require additional treatment. And one that Bob mentioned, the polychloroform, I can't pronounce it, the PFAS, is of great concern. We are currently constructing the largest capital project in our 94-year history, the Plant 30 Wellhead Treatment Project, which will eventually treat 3 wells to remove nitrates, 1,2,3 TCP, and other contaminants from our groundwater supply. So early last year, we received requests from 2 of our landowners and by the San Bernardino County to explore providing sewer service in the unincorporated portions of our service area. In September, after responding to a request for a consultation with by the city of Chino's mayor and city council, Monte Vista's board authorized staff to begin the process of exploring providing this beneficial service. The reason our board decided that is that there are many potential benefits for providing sewer service. One that you've already heard and that we're focusing on here is to improve management of wastewater because it is much preferable to do that through sewer service than through on-site septic systems. That leads to an environmentally beneficial effect in removing pollution, not adding to the pollution of a groundwater basin that already has significant challenges. Additionally, it just provides that public benefit of an additional public service that is available to customers, and that provides support for the community. And finally, it increases the availability of a local drought-proof water supply through the recirculation of recycled water for beneficial uses in the area, including in our service area. So the first necessary step in this process of exploration has been to develop a sewer service feasibility study, which we completed in December last year. The study identified a potential sewer service area. As you can see here on this map in green, this area overlaps the unincorporated areas that we currently provide water service to, and some unincorporated parcels already receive sewer service from either the city of Montclair or the city of Chino, and they would continue to do so. There are some unincorporated areas that lie outside of our jurisdictional boundaries, and they would be excluded from sewer service unless we chose to annex those areas in the future. As you can see on this map of that sewer service area, a potential area, the area has already been planned for sewer service, as Bob mentioned, and the backbone infrastructure for serving this area is already in place. You can see that with the thick green line here. That is the backbone infrastructure for collecting sewer water by Inland Empire Utilities Agency as part of that regional treatment process that Bob described. You also see that some of the unincorporated parcels within this area already receive sewer service. You can see that indicated through the thinner laterals, both blue and purple, representing either service from the city of Montclair or the city of Chino, and they would continue to receive that service. But some unincorporated areas lying outside would be excluded. And finally, a map that Bob showed on his presentation, just to return our focus to it, you will see that within this potential service area, there are a large number of septic systems that are adding contaminants to the groundwater basin. We currently estimate between 1,500 and 1,700 septic systems in total within this potential service area. And so that is our opportunity to provide a beneficial service, but also, as importantly, to improve the groundwater quality and improve this commonly used resource that is so important for our local community. Once again, thank you for this opportunity, and I do look forward to answering any questions that you might have. And now I'll turn it over to Dr. Prag.
Thanks, Justin. I am an economist. I have been teaching in Claremont for the past 35 years. I do a lot of work for local communities, and I've spoken and written a lot about the role of government in promoting economic growth. I want to talk about this at a fairly high level, almost a philosophical level, but I want to harken back to a great many things that Bob and Justin have just told us about. First, a little context, a little personal perspective literally about me. I am neither a libertarian, a person who thinks government should be almost non-existent, nor a liberal Keynesian, a person who thinks that big government is the be-all, end-all, and fuels economic growth merely by spending and stimulating consumption. When I write and teach students about the appropriate role of government, I use a very simple concept. I say government isn't bad. Bad government is bad. Wasteful government is bad. Governments that overstep or understep are bad. But government is an invention of us, of the people. It is a social choice to give a small group of people, our representatives, the power to make decisions for the group, for their constituents. That description of government is critical to understanding its role in the economy. Government has two primary purposes in the economy. One is it buys certain unusual goods that everyone in the economy consumes simultaneously. Things like national defense, if we're thinking at the national level, or roads or parks. If we leave those things known as public goods, to the private market, that is, if we let individuals buy them, people will try to what's called free ride, try and use the good without paying for it. That's the nature of these goods. Once someone pays for them, everybody gets to use them. The ability to free ride, though, means nobody would pay for them and they wouldn't exist. So we invent government to buy those things for all of us. Government also has a role in regulating markets. When a market activity imposes a cost on people who can't charge for the user for that cost, the government can solve this problem with the appropriate regulation. We know about this one. This is air pollution. When my factory pollutes the air, it's using a resource, air, that no one really owns, so the factory owner doesn't have to pay for it. Government, our social invention, steps in and claims ownership of the air for everyone, and then charges for or otherwise regulates its use. Within these roles of government, we also have the question of which government should do what. In the US, as we all know, we have city, county, state, and national governments. The question of who does what isn't always very easy. If my city builds a park with its residents' tax money, how do I prevent residents from other cities from coming in and using the park? My city shouldn't be expected to pay for a park that can accommodate everyone from all of the surrounding cities. The question of appropriate jurisdiction for dealing with the problem is best solved by remembering the point of a particular government. A city's government should focus on the problems that face the citizens of that city. A county's government quite literally exists to address the needs of the people who live in the county, but not in any one city. That brings us to the issue at hand, water and sewer, well, water and waste treatment. We're going to be gentler. We've heard a great exposition of the American history of water and waste treatment to some extent. In the rural parts of the country, or in the early years of the entire country, water and waste treatment services can't be affordably provided to the population by the government. People literally live too far apart. You just can't run pipes miles apart and get people water and sewage services. So water is drawn from a well and septic tanks are used for waste treatment. This is exactly what we've heard. When areas become more densely populated, septic tanks become an environmental problem, again, as we've heard, and thousands of septic tanks leaching into our groundwater are clearly problematic for any one region. So communities built their own waste treatment systems. But those are built for particular cities. Like the park that I mentioned earlier, no one city could or should have built a sewer system that can accommodate everyone in the surrounding region. Cities build their infrastructure based on the current and future residents' needs. As city governments often say, when asked by a large number of county residents to hook up to city sewers, the cost is prohibitive. This is like the problem of non-residents trying to use my city park. The city didn't and shouldn't have built a park big enough for that. I was listening to a planning discussion for the city of Chino recently that said precisely that. Providing sewer services to all of the nearby county residents would be prohibitively expensive. That's because the citizens of Chino built and paid for their waste treatment system for Chino. So historically, most county residents who live outside of a city use the old-fashioned and environmentally unfriendly septic tank system, which, as we've heard, is problematic, and particularly in California. But this waste treatment story has a potentially very happy ending. As we've heard, Monte Vista Water District has asked San Bernardino County for permission to activate its latent, and I don't want to fill in all of the legalities here, water treatment services and provide county residents in several heavily populated, unincorporated areas with waste treatment services. This would allow residents to remove their septic tanks and any new residents to move into those areas knowing they have access to environmentally safe waste treatment systems. Allowing Monte Vista to provide waste treatment services is an easy decision for the government of San Bernardino County. Indeed, this is precisely what that government exists to do. The San Bernardino County government has the opportunity to do something to serve its constituents, the entire county, to do the right thing for the environment, and to remove the potential burden on nearby cities. This proposal is a winner with no losers. Thank you.
My goodness, thank you, gentlemen. That was a lot of information to take in very, very quickly. I appreciate your presentation. And we have a few questions that we've received so far. Let's see. First off, Justin, I heard you say there's an estimated 1,500 to 1,700 septic tanks in what would be Monte Vista's service area. Does IEUA have enough capacity for all those new sewer customers?
Well, the Inland Empire Utilities Agency has planned for and developed backbone infrastructure for providing sewer service for its entire service area, is our understanding. And this area is part of when IEUA began providing the regional wastewater treatment service. It was under a regional regional sewerage contract, and that contract instituted what was called an Improvement District C, which is a property tax increment at the time. And so all of these property owners have been paying into this fund, and that fund has been used to develop the backbone infrastructure. And as you saw on the map, the backbone infrastructure is already in place. So our understanding is that the planning has been to eventually incorporate this sewering of this area into the IUA service area, into the IUA system. And we would certainly be working with IUA to understand, to ensure that we can connect whatever customers choose to or request that service from us. And we would plan with IUA to ensure through the agreement that is already in existence, the regional contract, to make sure that those connections, that sufficient capacity exists for the connections when they come into existence. And that would be the same whether or not they were connecting with us or connecting through the city of Montclair or the city of Chino.
Other than septic systems in the Chino Basin, what are the other substantial contributors to the groundwater pollution? I mean, would activating this latent power and connecting these septic systems and removing them, would that fix the groundwater problem, or are there other issues that we are facing? Bob, you're muted.
I apologize, Zoom etiquette there. There are other contaminants found throughout the groundwater basin. Some of them are isolated in particular contamination plumes. By way of example, the old GE Flatiron plant in Ontario has a chrome 6 plume associated with it. There's a TCE or a solvent plume associated with the Ontario airport. In the Chino area and the Montclair area, over in Justin's area, we have 1,2,3 TCP, which is associated, it was a pesticide used in some of the agricultural practices. So there are other contaminants in the basin. The most prominent one found and the most problematic is the nitrate. The nitrate is a type of salt that requires an ion exchange process that's different from either the granular activated carbon treatment that's been deployed or the air stripping that's been deployed. So the answer, it can get very complex, but nitrate is not the only problem, and septic tanks are not the only contributor to contamination. Septics put in the nitrate, but they also put in the pharmaceuticals, People also put solvents and paint thinners down their toilets, though they're not supposed to. It happens. People also, you know, like I said, personal care products, you know, the 1,4-dioxane that's contaminated in the basement can come from soap products, you know, even environmentally friendly soap products. So the septic tanks are a major contributor because they're spread out. A source contamination that comes from a specific factory is very specific. So we deal with them differently. If you want to solve the problem here, you've got to get rid of the septic systems.
Okay. So I'm hearing obviously this project needs to get it done. This is a big environmental factor for the basin. We need to do this so that we can get it cleaned up. Someone is asking, what are the connection costs associated with connecting to the new sewer line, or how do these systems get funded? Say I'm a homeowner and I'm on a septic and I'm interested in getting new service once it's available. What do I have to, as an individual, pay, or how is this going to affect me financially?
Well, we don't know at this time. We would need to undergo a more full-scale planning effort right now. We have a feasibility study that provides us with the feasibility analysis necessary to move forward with the activation of that latent power. Then we would have to develop all the institutional infrastructure associated with the sewer purpose sewer service, all the ordinances, the rate resolutions, standards and specifications, and so on. And part of that will be the economic analysis to ensure that we are charging the appropriate rates to fund the system required for connecting customers to the backbone infrastructure that exists. So a lot of work still needs to be done. We're just at the initial phase, but we're very excited to move forward.
Nicole, I'd like to pile on a little bit there with what Justin just said. Though I'm here as the water quality person talking about water quality, I was a public works director and a utility director managing sewer collection and treatment systems, not only in the region, but you know, in many of the states around the country. So I have a lot of experience in this. One of the things that Justin said, I want to make sure that we get reiterated time and time again, is the people in this service area are already paying for water treatment services on a special tax assessment. And they're just being denied access to that treatment system because the pipe is not connecting the two. So the costs associated with connecting those pipes to make them get access to something they're already paying for, there's going to be a lot of things that come into play. I am committed to working with Justin and his board of directors to get grant funding for these activities. When you start talking about cleaning up groundwater basins, there are going to be grant funds available to engage in that activity. Both local funds, state funds, and federal funds are coming our way. But Justin's got to be ready for that so that he can actually access those funds for his consumers.
Thank you. We're talking about a study that's been done about the septic that is contaminating the basin. Is there a place for our audience or homeowners who are interested in the basin to see the study that's been done? Can you share where to get that?
Absolutely. The study's posted on our website. We have a dedicated page. If you just go to MVWD, the initials for MonteVistaWaterDistrict.org, and then you click on Our Water, you will see a link for the sewer service feasibility study, and you click on that. There's a little information page. You'll see some of these maps that you've seen in this presentation, and there's a direct link to the feasibility study. We invite everybody to take a look. Let us know what you think.
Okay, great. Any idea on timeline for this process? How long before I can get my septic ripped out and connect to the county infrastructure, or I'm sorry, Monte Vista's potential infrastructure, and be helping save the environment?
Thank you for asking. We're not sure. We're working as fast as we can on this process. We do have to go through a number of approval processes. First, we would need to receive approval from the local agency formation commission for San Bernardino County. They need to provide approval for the activation of the Sewer Service Authority. Then we would need to enter into an agreement with Inland Empire Utilities Agency to receive the wastewater, as they have agreements with all the other local sewering entities, so that we could become one of them and become part of the system. We also need to adopt, as I mentioned earlier, a number of rules and regulations so that we can provide the service as appropriate, and then we can receive inquiries, requests for service, and actually process at that time. But we have a lot of steps in front of us before that.
Okay, the opposite of that. How about if I'm not excited to connect? I'm happy living on my little island with my septic and my well. Do I have to connect to the new service?
It's a great question. No, there's no compulsion, no requirement. This is simply the option to receive this service if that is of interest. We believe that it is a beneficial service to have available for our customers and our constituents, and we want to make sure that that's potentially available if they so choose.
We want to be there when you call, when you have that backup or that squishy part of your front yard. You know, when these septic tanks start failing, you know, Justin's being very modest. His phone's been ringing off the hook from consumers asking us how fast we can get it done.
Okay, good to know. Just curious, how much money does Monte Vista spend on cleaning the water that comes out of the basin before we consume it?
Ooh. Quite a bit. I don't know if I have a specific number for our treatment costs. I can certainly get that for you, but it is a significant portion of our budget. We are a groundwater producing agency as well as a part owner of an imported water treatment plant. And so either directly to treat our groundwater, and as you can see, we're building more treatment as we go, and that additional treatment will come with additional costs for treating of water as we need to operate those treatment plants. And then through our water supply costs with the imported water, which also requires treatment. Treatment is a significant component of our cost, as it should be, to ensure that we're providing a safe and reliable supply.
Other than removing septic systems, what else could we do? Could individuals apply to, if they're not in a city, could they apply to someone they're near for service? Or would it just strictly be only Monte Vista being able to serve those customers?
You want to try it, Justin, or you?
I was about to wonder if you were. Obviously, let me start this way. We're a special district. We provide services at the request of our customers. That's how we were formed back in 1927 by the vote of the people. When customers request a service that we're able to provide, we'd like to be as responsive as possible. And that's exactly how this project arose, was through a request for service. It is a difficult process to develop the opportunity for that service, but it's always a potential benefit. So I would say to any customer who is, say, on septic and is interested in exploring wastewater service, that they would reach out to their local government, whether it's a special district like ourselves or a city, and inquire and find out. We are, as Bob mentioned, receiving some inquiries, and we process those as best we can to make sure we understand what the needs are and do our best to be responsive to those needs. That's what a local government does.
Bob, did you have something to add to that?
No, I think Justin did a very, very good job in answering the question from the Monte Vista Water District's perspective. It's one of those types of things where, you know, your question was, if not Monte Vista, who? And, you know, that's always been something that's been available. but yet we still have this problem of all these septic tanks in this unincorporated area. So the opportunity's been there, the studies and the reports have been done. And unfortunately, it does get, to Dr. Prague's discussion, it's gotten to that question of politics. Well, I'll give you service, but I don't like you, I won't give you service. Or I'll go give my friend service, but I won't give you service. His analogy to the park, the city of Chino has evaluated this, and they made a very specific direction to their staff that they don't want to get involved in that activity and they don't want to be responsible for that cost. And so those county residents have actually been denied services that they've been paying for. And Monte Vista, when they were incorporated and when they were enacted, were provided the ability to provide. They were a county water district. They're incorporated as a county water district in that county area. Montclair has grown down, Chino's grown up. They still provide water service. This is a water cycle. I've talked to Justin about not only water utility service, but wastewater collection, treatment, and then water reuse services and stormwater services. Justin's responsible for the entire water cycle, and they are connected. It is a one water system. And so to understand that is to actually be progressive and provide the services as people request them. Right now, they are in fact being denied.
Okay. Jay, what do you perceive would happen to the region, the basin, economically, if we weren't to clean up the groundwater, if we weren't to try and solve this issue of the failing septic systems?
Well, the problem is already there, and it's like every environmental problem that's out there. You name it, global warming, pick your favorite one. It's not a question at some point about reversing things. Sometimes you've gotten to a point where that's really impractical. It's trying to make sure it doesn't get any worse. The groundwater problem, as those maps showed, is frankly scary in that when you pollute that, it goes everywhere. It goes literally throughout more than just the county. So the reason why this is the San Bernardino County's problem to solve, they have to do this and they have to step up and do the right thing, is that the problem affects the entire county. The water table is under many cities, much of San Bernardino, even parts of LA County. And that actually is the kind of economic justification for the county to do this. I don't even want to think about economically what happens if we continue the pollution process that's there now. I've lived in many parts of the country where people couldn't live in Love Canal and lots of other places for decades because they did this wrong. This is a classic economic externalities problem that governments were created to fix it and do the right thing. And this is the right thing to do. This is, to be honest, this isn't the city of Chino or Montclair or Ontario's problem. This is the San Bernardino County problem, and they can fix it.
Do we know for sure of examples of some of these septics that are failing now? And if that's true, how long before maybe the State Water Resources Control Board comes in and says, your water is not safe, you have to put in extra treatment to make sure that the water is up to standard?
They already have.
Okay. I don't follow the water board that closely, so I had to ask. Let's see. Any final comments as we get close to the end of our hour here together? No?
thank you for the opportunity for talking about the project, and thank you for talking about local government and the context of local government. I think it's a very important for all of our community, particularly the business community, to understand how local government services come into being. I found very interesting Dr. Craig's kind of from the base up description of that. And as someone who's running a local government and in partnership with our surrounding governments, including all the cities and other districts, the regional entities, I just think it's a very beneficial thing for us to understand how that all comes together to solve an issue, particularly such an important issue as water quality.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. And I think that economic progress is a collaborative effort. It's easier at some level when the collaboration is a larger district, an entity that's bigger than any one city, a whole county, even a water district, where you make people have to sit down and say, we got to get this done. We have to work together. We need clean water. We need new housing. We need all kinds of things, but we need to do it right. And we have the ability, as you said, the backbone is already there, that this isn't I don't like to say it this way. I don't want to come across as being condescending, but this is as much a no-brainer as I've ever seen to at least let somebody try and fix this problem. Yeah, it's a what's not the like sort of thing. As I said, it's a winner with no losers.
Well, again, thank you, gentlemen, for the information. I think you've provided a lot for us to think about, and we'll certainly be watching this process. Yeah, I had a comment. Isn't there a moral obligation to provide sewer service and clean water? And I believe we can all say there absolutely is, without a doubt. There are far too many people in the country, not necessarily in our county, that don't have access to clean water, running water. So
yeah, it's rather third world that we still have places that have been denied that. We have the ability to do it right.
It's a shame. Yes, Bob.
Real quick, only because we've got a little bit of time left, and I just saw a question that just came across, and it said, what about the septic systems that aren't failing? I'd be happy to address that, and it sounds a little bit retro, but I want to make sure that the questions all get answered. Septic systems were designed in an era where people flushed their toilet with human waste. Now people are flushing in their toilets perfluorinated. They go right through a septic system. They're called the forever chemical for a reason. Okay, they're regulated in the parts per trillion, okay, because they accumulate in our bodies. The average half-life of a perfluorinated compound in our body is 9.5 years. So if you drink 1 part per trillion today, it's 2 parts per trillion tomorrow, it's 3 parts per trillion the day after that. It mimics bad cholesterol in our body, screws with our endocrine system. It is a major national crisis. They blow right through a perfectly brand new septic tank, number one. All your pharmaceuticals blow right through a septic tank. So if you have a septic tank that's 95 years old, like many of these are, and it's working perfectly, you're still contaminating our groundwater basin.
So we got another last minute question in. Are there other parts of the Chino Basin or of the county that have septic tanks as well? Or is it just the little area that we're focused on those maps?
No, actually, in all fairness, there is another one, but Monte Vista, can't really help out in that area. The old county area between Rancho Cucamonga and Ontario. If you remember, for those of you that have gray hair like me, Rancho Cucamonga is our newest city. Okay, it was made up of Etiwanda, Alta Loma, Cucamonga, pulled together, all unincorporated areas of San Bernardino County. They have another big pocket up there that's also being worked on, and also being worked on by a county waterworks district. It is now called Cucamonga Valley Water District, but it was old Cucamonga County Water District. Much like Monte Vista, they changed their name to keep up with the times, and they are working on the problem up there diligently.
Okay, so it sounds like this is a bigger problem. This isn't just we're special. It's good to know. And it's good to know that they're working on it.
Yes, it's a national problem. And anybody that's willing to step up and take it on and tackle it should be rewarded for that, you know. And I think Justin's being modest. They're doing a great public service.
So our water is actually all connected. Is it possible, and I'm sure it is, that the pollution that we see in our basin, is that being driven downstream to, say, Orange County?
Well, you'd have to read the Orange County Register, because I think about 6 months ago, Orange County Water District said it was the people upstream pushing their waste products downstream. And that's also part of the regional board issues of late, let's just say that. So there are problems. And yeah, it accumulates, bumps over, goes into the Santa Ana River and straight to Orange County. But it's not just Chino Basin. Santa Ana River starts in Big Bear. So there are other communities upstream from the Chino Basin contributing to that contamination.
Another question from an attendee. Are people with septic tanks required at any time to have their septic tanks certified?
Yes.
Short answer, yes.
All jurisdictions are different. Unfortunately, it's when there's a transfer of property. That's usually when a septic system has to go through an inspection and certification.
So if a homeowner has been in their home for 40 years, it's possible that something has happened over the last who knows how long, because there hasn't been a transfer of property.
Correct.
Okay, so we're hoping the problem is not bigger than it is.
I think the message with groundwater contamination and water contamination in all aspects is you have to cut off the source. And as Justin's described, we've got 1,700 sources here. When you identify pollution from an industrial discharge, you cut it off at the source. These septic tanks represent a lot of little sources, some worse than others.
Since we're a business publication and we focus primarily on business and economics, are there commercial or business entities that are also on septic in some of these areas, or are we talking predominantly residential?
There are certainly businesses who either are on septic or may have to go onto septic if they cannot access sewer service. And that just compounds the problem. It creates the need for a very large, expensive septic system for larger uses. And I think, you know, your modern wastewater system is already set up to deal with all types of wastewater streams to ensure that it is appropriately disposed of and treated, and then that water resource is reused. And that's kind of one of the most exciting things, as one of the things Bob said, is about being part of the water cycle. Well, can't claim being part of all the water cycle. We certainly are all connected, regardless of if it's our organization or another organization. And so the ability to appropriately manage every single element of that water cycle really creates a tremendous benefit. So for instance, the generation, not just the treatment of the wastewater appropriately, but the reuse of that treated wastewater as a recycled water product, Inland Empire Utilities Agency and the sewering entities who fund the regional project have done a tremendous job of developing infrastructure for the reuse of recycled water. We are able to use that through our purchase agreement with the city of Montclair, and we are able to provide that to the city as well as school districts and in, commercial enterprises and other entities do this a tremendous amount throughout the Chino Basin. A tremendous benefit, but if we are not able to maintain the water quality in the groundwater basin, there's a threat that we may not be able to use recycled water anymore because of the salt load of the basin. So the more that we can treat and take the salt away from the groundwater basin, the more beneficial and the more we can sustain that effort.
If you have homeowners and or businesses, however unlikely, have access to sewer service now, but they choose not to, can the county pass a law or regulate the oversight of septic systems that may be failing, have an inspection set up every so many years? Would that also assist with the problem? Some homeowner gets inspected, they have a problem with their septic, they can either fix it and install a new septic or sign up for sewer service, either through a city or through Monte Vista through the county. Do we know, I know you don't work for the county, but do we know, is that a possibility?
I will share with you this. Of course, it's always a possibility. But I don't think any of us are lawyers on this particular call, and certainly
Sure.
not on, code enforcement activities like that. But it's one of those types of things when a device or construction takes place, the agency with jurisdiction has the authority during that period of time to certify that particular device or septic system or operation. Not until it fails or a new permit is required for upgrade can the regulatory body of jurisdiction come in and try to regulate what's already on personal property. And that's a national issue. That's not unique to San Bernardino County. That being said, remember I said I operate in all the counties in Southern California and most of the states in this country. I will tell you that San Bernardino County's septic system program at the county levels, perhaps one of the most stringent and best managed septic programs in the nation. I feel confident in saying that. It's a very, very well-run program. I will tell you that because I've had to work with San Bernardino County attempting to get permits for mini markets and gas stations on the 15 freeway between here and Vegas, where there is nothing for miles. And it's not an easy task to get one of those approved.
Sure. Well, gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and wrap us up. It is about 7 o'clock now, and I don't want to keep us any longer than we have time for on our webinar series. I thank you all for sharing your insight. I look forward to continuing to watch this process and looking forward to continued economic prosperity in the Inland Empire, San Bernardino County and the Chino Basin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.